Hey everyone, and thank you for joining us. We will get started here in just about 4 minutes. Have your questions ready, as we'll be speaking, as always, with Mr. Clint Ober. Thank you for joining us today. Sit tight and we'll get started in 2 minutes. Have your questions ready. Hi everyone, and welcome to Earthing Live, where we answer your questions about earthing and grounding. We usually meet on Mondays at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, so welcome. Before we get started, I would like to remind you that anything we talk about here is not meant to replace the advice of your doctor or healthcare practitioner. Please always consult with your healthcare provider before making any adjustments to your medication or recommended health routine. Okay, hi everyone. Also, before we get started, I want to remind all of you that we do have our holiday sale going on, and we have a wonderful gift guide section on our website. You can visit all of that at earthing.com. We have some really great deals going on right now. For those of you who are joining us on Facebook and YouTube, you can submit your questions in the comment section, and I do have my team monitoring those questions, and they'll get those to me. If you're joining us on the Zoom platform, you can submit your questions in the Q&A section. So be sure not to use the chat section. I don't always see that, but the Q&A section is right there in front of me, and I can see that. Okay, as always, my customer service department is in the background helping me out, but if you do have any questions on tracking an order or placing an order, you can reach them at help@earthing.com, or you can visit our website, earthing.com, and you can live chat, phone numbers, all kinds of ways to get a hold of them. Okay, so now I'd like to introduce Mr. Clint Ober. He's been working on the advancing the science and the knowledge of grounding and earthing for, gosh, what, 25 years now? So
pushing it.
So he is here to answer all of your questions. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Just waiting for the year to close out and get a few days off in between, I hope.
Yeah, yep. Same here. Okay, first question. This is Sherry on Zoom. She has a question about the patches. She says, I noticed there's a sticky substance over the metal connection point that touches the skin when on your body. If the substance is missing, will the patch still work with only the metal touching you?
It might work, but it won't work as well because the gel, it's called a gel patch. And what it does is when it makes contact with the skin, it just opens the pores up and you have much better contact. But I think with it directly, the metal directly against the skin, it would probably still work.
Right. Lorraine is asking if you've ever heard of earthing help with gut dysbiosis or helping to heal the gut or clear out pathogens like bacteria, viruses, and parasites.
Well, we know that when you are grounded to the earth, your body is negative, about 20 millivolts. And so your body has unlimited access to an unlimited supply of negative charge. And when you are disconnected from the earth, then your body becomes positive like the atmosphere. So what that does is it does change the environment in your gut, and that can have a significant impact on the gut bacteria. And I know that a lot of times people that have certain types of gastrointestinal disorders, they'll use the patches by putting the patches on certain places, and it calms it down immediately. But overall, I think people who are grounded tend to have more stable gastrointestinal function than not. We haven't done any studies on that, but it's just observational. If you don't feel good, go out and put your bare feet on the earth for 15 to 30 minutes. It's going to change how you feel. If you go to a restaurant, eat a fancy meal, and you get all bloated up, then just go stand on the earth for 15 minutes and the bloat will go away. So there is a relationship, but we don't know the exact amount of it. But I think having a negative charge on your body, because everything that's going on in your immune system, in your gut, is immune system related. So, yes.
Hey, Jennifer is asking if earthing can help with repeated episodes of a urinary tract infection. Even though taking antibiotics regularly, the infection keeps recurring. If yes, which products would you recommend?
Based on my background and experience raising 4 girls, I would say grounding is definitely going to help, but there's more to it than that. Again, I don't have enough information. I mean, this is with grounding or without grounding and so on. But I would say, like the typical cranberry, I don't know what the pills or whatever they normally take for that. That's always been very effective. But I know that what grounding does is it reduces, a lot of the inflammation and a lot of the bacteria. It helps to normalize the bacteria in the system. But Candida is the #1 thing that we see a big shift in when you get grounded and stay grounded, then the candida will disappear quite quickly. So that gives you an example. So I think that more grounding would be extremely good. And anytime you take antibiotics, and if you're taking a few rounds of antibiotics, then you have really upset your gut bacteria, and you really need to get grounded and then get the yogurts and all the good things that you need to rebalance your normal flora in your gut. And I think you'll find it be quite beneficial.
Okay, jumping over to Helene, who's watching on YouTube. She says, I have a sleep number bed. Will that drain my energy? Should I disconnect it from the electrical outlet, the air pump, and the head and foot frame motor while using the products?
No, would have no effect. If it were a water bed with a heating element underneath, then it might be different. But like a sleep number bed, no, there would be no issue.
Lorraine asks, what experiences have you witnessed or heard about earthing helping seizures?
Well, I've been asked that question a few times this week. The only thing I can tell you is in the early days, 20 years ago, I started working with a doctor down in Southern California who specialized taking care of children with petit mal seizures and various other types of seizures. And I know that, he asked me to go and ground a few of them here and there, and we did have great results. We had one that had surgery, lost her speech and everything, just a 5-year-old girl who was in chronic seizures. And what we did with her is we made a little bracelet so that she could be on the couch. And this is in the early days when we didn't have all the grounding supplies, but so she could be grounded when she was on the couch watching TV. Because anytime there's any static electricity around, to give you an example, one time she was driving down the road and I told the mom to, anytime if she has a seizure when you're driving or whatever, just stop the car, find some grass, put her bare feet on the grass and just leave her there until everything settles down. And she did that one time and she called me, she said, but as soon as I put her back in the car and put the socks on, then the seizure started back up. So static electricity and all of these charges that are on the body play a big role, but grounding does significantly help. And you can find this out best by doing what I did early on there, is just grounding these kids in the backyard, in the patios, on the grass, anytime they have a seizure or so on. And we have grounded lots of, and again, each case is special and unique to a degree. And we have a lot of adults who have had brain seizures or other types of seizures. Even one was a practitioner that's listed in the earthing book, where they all have benefit from grounding. It calms it, and sometimes it even eliminates the seizures completely after a period of time. But again, it's an electrical phenomena. I think grounding helps to stabilize the internal electrical stability of the body. I think you'll see dramatic results, but you have to have patience with it. Start out in nature or in the grass or in the backyard or wherever, just to get a sense of it. And then if you trust it and you see benefits, then consider incorporating some grounding devices into your home, especially for sleep and when they're sitting on couches or anything that can generate static electricity in the home.
Okay. Next question is from another Jennifer. We have lots of Jennifers on the call today.
We do.
Is there a reason somebody would experience a metallic taste in the mouth during their first night using an earthing bed mat?
It wouldn't be from the earthing, but it would be from the immune system, some immune activity within the body that is detoxing something. That's all it could be.
Okay, this person says, I received my new floor mat today. It's awesome. I love the larger scale and I'm looking forward to using it in my kitchen. Are there any concerns of standing on it while using various kitchen appliances? Thank you for all you do.
No, there's no issues. I mean, the ground cords have a built-in 100K resistor, meaning that you wouldn't be able to feel any, there's no electrical event that's going to occur. You'd just be grounded, and your hands would be grounded in the, in the kitchen if you're touching water, cold water, especially the sink or washing dishes or doing any of those kind of things. All electrical appliances are pretty well insulated these days. They're all of them are encased in plastic. Very few possibilities for any kind of an electrical event. But no, there would be no issue. I think they're completely safe.
Okay, jumping back over to the YouTube comments here. Does it make the grounding stronger if you have more of your body touching the grounding mat, or is it the same if you just have one body part touching?
Well, okay, first of all, you have to know that the body is not a conductive wire like a piece of copper. If your body was like a piece of copper, then you could just touch one piece of it to an electric, to the ground or whatever, and the whole thing would be energized and equalized at the speed of light. But the human body is made up of trillions of cells, and there's lots of dielectric, meaning like on the nerves, you have the myelin sheath that, current can't pass through that. But anyhow, your skin is dry. You might have 5 mega ohms of resistance or 10 mega ohms, or if your skin is dry, it may have high resistance. So electrons don't rapidly flow in the body. What happens in the body is when you touch anything grounded, then your body's going to slowly equalize with the earth. And as the electrons migrate into your body. So when your body is laying down or laying across the bed on the mattress pad, then your electrons can absorb, you're covering more area. But these electrons are not going, they're not like turning on a light switch and lighting a light bulb. They're going to migrate into the body through the skin. And first thing that we know, there's obviously more, but the first thing we know is that it normalizes the surface charges on red blood cells, and their blood circulates once a minute. So, but a lot of those free electrons that are added to the blood are automatically given up to help reduce inflammation or to oxygenate tissue and so on. So it's kind of like more is better with grounding. More is better. Anything is good. More is better.
Okay, can earthing help with celiac disease? This is kind of relates to the question a little bit ago.
Well, again, that's kind of a modern health disorder. I think it is an inflammation-related health disorder. Don't know, it could be a genetic, depending on the culture you come from, whether grains were a part of your heavy in the diet or not in the diet, things like that. But again, any allergy that manifests is your immune system responding. It's an allergic reaction. That's an immune reaction to something that so if you don't have enough, if your immune system is responding to something, which it does respond to everything, then if for some reason there's something that's promoting inflammation, then it's going to promote a lot of reactive oxygen species. And if there's not enough free electrons to reduce those, then it's going to create flares. And I think a lot of these flares are what we call allergies. So if you can get grounded, stay grounded, keep grounded, then I think you'll benefit. But if any of these things cause you what you would call an allergic reaction, or if you're sensitive to them, you really need to remove them from your diet, get grounded, get the inflammation out of your body, and then slowly consider adding things back in. That's what I would recommend, because I don't think grounding is going to just fix everything overnight. There's a healing and recovery time, depending on how long and what's gone on over the years with your physiology.
What about with gout and arthritis?
That's easy. Just put a patch on it and it goes away. The problem is if you have arthritis, you have inflammation in your body generally. You have a high level of inflammation in your body, and it manifests as arthritis or gout or something else. Sometimes certain foods will, it's like grains and stuff will promote gout. Even the grains, I think, promote arthritis, I think. And so anyhow, getting grounded and reducing the inflammation in your body, we know number one thing we hear and have heard for over 25 years or near 25 years is arthritis. Arthritis goes away when you get grounded and stay grounded. But there's more to it than just the grounding. There are diet components, I think. There are, environmental issues and all kinds of issues out there, but grounding is a good place to start because it will put the fire out and stop the advancement of the arthritis. It's quite remarkable, actually. It's unfortunate that the medical community is oblivious to the benefits of grounding on arthritis and autoimmune. But anyhow, so yeah, it's very beneficial. If you don't have a patch, just go outdoors, put your feet on the earth and put your hands on the earth and just stay there for 30 minutes and you'll notice reductions in pain. You won't have complete healing because you got to put the fire out. The inflammation is feeding the arthritis. You have to put the fire out, then you have to keep it out for an extended period of time so that the immune system can repair the damage and recover.
Good. Okay, Diana asks, what is the best way to use earthing to wake up muscles after surgery? How effective and how long will it take?
Again, I don't know the nature of the surgery, but generally, if people have operations, open operations, put patches near the site of the surgery, of the incision, and you'll find that on the average, you'll have a significant increase significant reduction in the time it takes you to recover. Like we learned during the Tour de France and some of those, you're going to recover in 30% of the time it would normally take. So if you're first of all, if you're grounded and you have surgery or dental surgery or anything, you don't experience what we call the Vicodin pain, that hot burning pain, and it's more that subtle pain that says, leave me alone, let me heal. But the hot burning pain is what lengthens the healing and recovery time, because as the reactive oxygen species are promoting inflammation at the site of surgery, then the healing is impaired because it's creating inflammation and oxidation that impedes the healing process. So by grounding near the incision, you're going to flood the area with free electron. The reactive oxygen species are not going to be able to promote inflammation, and you'll have significantly improved recovery time. Seen it too many times, never fails.
Okay, let's see. This says, I am dealing with plantar fasciitis and seem to be making more progress with a single patch than I have by using a conductive sock and your uni mat during the day and a bed pad at night. However, it still hurts some. I noticed that you often use multiple patches, which is harder to do because it requires more grounding connections. How many patches and where would you put them to treat plantar fasciitis optimally? And how does this change if the pain is really just in the heel?
Again, the socks help, but this is an extreme, nothing will put the fire out faster than patches. So if you put a patch on each foot or one on each side of the foot, whatever it takes, but I would suggest it's probably on both feet, so you probably have to ground both feet. I would probably put the one or two patches. And again, sometimes this is not easy. This is absurd to have to do this, but you need to get your feet back on the earth. And if you can't do it any other way, then you have to patch it. There are some larger electrodes that can be purchased, but the problem is they don't last very long. They're expensive and they don't last as long. So multiples of the little patches are great. And trying to putting them right where the inflammation is coming from, the areas where it's coming from. But the main thing is you have to ground during the day. If you have to leave the patches on your foot, you can when you put your shoes on, and just keep your wires in your pocket and ground when you're at a desk or do whatever. But you need continuous grounded for an extended period to get the fire to come down. And you need the patches. Put the socks, if you already have the socks, wear the socks on top of the patches. That would help. Put the patches on and then put the socks on. And just put as much on. You can't ground too much. But I've noticed that I found some people, sometimes they'll have, like an arthritic flare or something in one or two fingers, and we can patch and whatever. But until we put the patch right on those fingers, or right where that arthritis is, we don't get the quick recovery. You get the slower recovery. But sometimes you've got to put it right, because there's an irritant there, there's a fire there, and you have to put the patch right on that area and keep it there. And you just have to experiment and do everything and anything and everything. But the main thing is just stay grounded as long as you can, especially during sleep. And in the morning, if you have to get up, put shoes on and go, that's going to contribute. You're going to lose your grounding effect. More inflammation is going to be created. So you got to be grounded more often than you are not grounded. And on the weekends, try not to wear shoes at all. If you have concrete floors, or just grass, dampen them down, put your feet on them, and you'll get great results. But anything and everything, but plantar fasciitis always disappears with grounding. Arthritis always disappears with grounding. So just do what you can.
Hey, Mindy, watching us on YouTube, she says, I bought the bed mat and slept terribly. I tried first with an outlet and then with a ground rod. I typically wake up maybe once a night, and with the bed mat, I was up 3, 4, 5 times. I tried for 4 to 5 nights. Each night was the same result. My husband even slept terribly, even though the mat is only on my side. I'm so confused, and I really want to believe in these products. This has unfortunately made my husband a non-product believer, because we both believe in true outside grounding. What could be wrong?
I don't really know. I would have to know the floor that the bedroom is on, if it's on a second floor, or if it's in an apartment or condo, high rise. If it's on the ground floor, then I would have to, the first thing I would look at is the amount of electrical devices that are near the bed, any amount of excess cords or anything like that in the bedroom. Then if you put a ground rod in she said she had a ground rod?
Yeah.
Okay. Then basically the only thing it could be would be an excess amount of EMF in the room, or a healing response. It's one of the two. The EMFs don't bother most people. You would have to have exhausted adrenals and be pretty stressed. I don't know, it works grounding works. It isn't about beliefs. It isn't that you need to believe that it works. It does work. There are 20-some studies, peer-reviewed, published studies on the Earthing Institute. We have grounded millions of people, and we know that the majority of these people are quite happy with earthing and they receive significant benefits. So when you are not experiencing that, then it can only come from two sources. It's your immune system responding, and there's a detox, because what happens when you get grounded, the first thing that happens is your blood becomes more energized. I mean, you increase the electrical surface charge, so it thins the blood. The blood goes in and out of the capillaries, oxygenates the tissue, and helps reduce the inflammation. So that's a shock to your system if you haven't been grounded. But if you've been grounding outdoors, then this is somewhat, your body should be used to it. So unless you have an electric heating pad in your bed, an electric mattress pad, an electric blanket, but oftentimes the new ones aren't so bad, but the older ones are really bad. There's when you say that you're waking up 2 or 3 times a night at the same time, then sometimes you have a refrigerator going off and on every so many hours or minutes, and that'll put a spike, an electric EMF spike in the room. That would only affect people who have exhausted adrenals. I mean, those are the only things that have timing cues where they routinely go on and off. The only thing that happens in the body is about 4 o'clock in the morning, your cortisol tends to increase rapidly, and that will wake a lot of people up. But they generally go back to sleep because it's a shift. Anyhow, I don't have an answer. I'd be more than happy to respond more if you give me some more information. But
I think one thing that really stood out to me is she said she tried it for 4 to 5 nights. And I know that that's actually not very long. So my recommendation would be try to get more grounding throughout your day so that you can get used to it. Try to get outside. I know it's, wintertime and everything, but try to go outside and get more grounding during the day. And usually when people do that, then they can, then they can sleep through the night. It's because if the only grounding you're getting is at nighttime, then it could be, an adjustment.
Yeah.
Their body's trying to heal and readjust.
Yeah, our living environments play a big role in grounding because you have cell phones, you have Wi-Fi's, you have, all of these electromagnetic fields, and there's 10,000 cell phones hitting your body every minute you're alive now. Because if you live in a city. So, I mean, there's just a plethora of noise out there. And when you get grounded, if you're well grounded and sleeping on the padding, hard grounded, then that's being pushed away from you. So you are getting a benefit, but you will feel some of it while your adrenals are recovering. And, but you just play with it, stay with it. There's no harm, there's no damage being created.
Okay, this next question is a little bit long. I'm going to try and shrink it down. They said you've repeatedly said that sleeping on that being grounded will improve your heart rate variability and sleep. So this person's been tracking their HRV through Garmin, a Fitbit. They're tracking their REM and light sleep. So there's a lot to this question. So basically, they've been doing it for quite a while now, for quite a few months, and they can't document any improvements in their heart rate variability. They've also used the Oura ring. So can you speak more to that? Did we have a study on that?
Yeah, at the Earthing Institute, we have several papers showing improved heart rate variability. And these are, these are peer-reviewed, published, double-blind studies. So we know that there's no question that grounding is going to affect heart rate variability, because what heart rate variability is, more so than anything else, is if you go to get out of a chair and you spring out, or you get up in the morning and you bounce out of bed like you were, when you were young. That means your heart can pump blood quickly and you can respond quickly. And then it calms down quickly after you make the move. But getting up out of a chair, like an older person has to push themselves up out of the chair and so on, So they have a very low heart rate variability. And we've seen, if you go to the Earthing Institute and look at it, you can actually see the muscle tension in the body. As soon as you ground somebody, I mean, they'll have a very narrow frequency. And as soon as you ground them, then all of a sudden it releases and the muscles start going like this in your brain waves and everything. So we know that there's no question. You ground a body, you're affecting heart rate variability the instant you ground the body. But anyhow, so, but these studies were done in a clinical environment where, you know, a person's sitting there for 15 to 20 minutes, being allowed to adjust to the environment and stabilize and calm down. Then you start doing your tests, which may be an hour long or 2 hours or whatever. And then you see the results by grounding them. They don't even know when they're grounded or when they're ungrounded, but you see the heart rate variability respond. And so there's no question that grounding affects heart rate variability. So the question here would be more what you're monitoring and how you're monitoring it. And I don't know, I have, you know, the Apple and Garmin, and I don't know these things. I haven't used them enough. I've thought about ordering a couple of them so we can play with them to learn more, but we use a little bit more sophisticated equipment and we use a controlled environment. So, but what's going to affect heart rate variability? Absolutely everything. Everything you set, everything you see on TV, everything you hear, everything goes on around you in your environment can affect your heart rate variability because your nervous system is responding, your parasympathetic is responding. It's whether or not you have, if it increases your heart rate variability, that's what grounding does, meaning you have more variability in your responses, your ability to move, your range of motion, all of those kind of things. If you want to ask more, you can send a note directly to Gaetan Chevalier at theearthinginstitute.net, and he's the expert on heart rate variability, he and Dr. Sinatra.
Okay, very good. Okay, Chaz has a question about grounding and helping with viral, bacterial, sore throats, and cough. He says, "'Tis the season." Yes, it is.
This is the season. Well, we have a couple of papers on the Institute that address everything from upper respiratory, respiration, and even, and we see that, for instance, people, if someone has a cold, I mean, the virus, you've contacted a virus, and the virus is exploding in your system, and your immune system is mounting a war against it. And so all of this stuff that's going on, and what the die-off from all of this war is what's causing so much of the coughs and everything else that's going on. So what we have found and what we've experienced and what I have observed for 25 years is if somebody has a cold, then grounding the patches, using the patches to ground the top upper portion of the lungs knocks it out rather quickly, because what it does is it shuts down the cytokine storm, or the, because in the lungs, because the lungs are filling up with, fluids and mucus and all of these kind of things. And so what you have is when the immune system mounts its attack, if you have a lot of reactive oxygen feedback, meaning feeding back on the system and creating collateral damage, then that dampens the immune system's ability, and then the viruses and whatever else tend to manifest more aggressively. So the best thing you can do is get grounded, stay grounded, and reduce all inflammation in your body and keep it at bay, and then eat properly and do those kind of things, because that will put your immune system in great shape. Your immune system can take things on. But if you have a weakened immune system due to life or environment, then it's going to be easier for you to pick up colds and so on. So the only thing I can say is, if you have one coming on, get grounded. If you have a history of upper respiratory issues, you may want to consider the patches. Put a patch on the top of each lung, because what that does, it fills the lung with negative charge, and you don't have the cytokine storms, and you don't have the all the collateral damage from the reactive oxygen. And you're going to have the immune system is going to be able to do its job or work its job. You have to remember that throughout all time, humans were more naturally grounded. They lived on the earth. Their bodies were always full of negative charge. And when we live in these modern homes, we lose that charge, and our immune system is sitting there trying to do its job, but it doesn't have ground available. It doesn't have the redox potential to dampen the excess radicals, and then we end up with the collateral damage and the chronic inflammation and the fire in our bodies. The inflammation means fire. And so it's really do everything you can to sleep grounded, stay grounded. If you can't afford to do it one way or another, then do it this way or do it that way. But grounding is available everywhere on some basis. And but it's really important in this cold season, and especially with the viruses that are now going around and everything, it's absolutely essential that you restore your immune system. You don't want to deal with the cold, you want to deal with your immune system in advance so that you don't have to worry about the cold. But that's what I'll get off my stump.
Okay, Anne wants to gift her grandchildren sleep mats for Christmas, but she's not sure what kind of sheets they have. Will the mats ground the kids if their sheets are microfiber, polyester, bamboo, or linen instead of cotton?
Well, when we say ground, and again, there's a lot of misconception because we have a lot of guys with meters and everybody's thinking about, being, the body being like an electrical wire or like a light bulb. So if you put a ground plane in the bed, and a ground plane is anything, whether it's a 12 by 30 mat or a full single mattress pad that covers the entire foot of the bed or the entire length of one side of the bed, or you put a full mat in the bed. So what you've done is now, so it's connected to the earth and it's energized by the earth, meaning it's the electrons migrate up the wire and saturate the mat, and the mat is what we call at earth potential, meaning it has a certain amount of electrons that are able to rapidly move and do work. So once that pad is in that bed, it's going to push away electric fields in the whole area. It's going to prevent static electricity, things like that in the bed. And you put a sheet over the top of it. It really doesn't matter what sheet is over. Cotton would be best. 50-50 polycotton would be second best. Poly, I don't know. I don't use them. I've never used them. So I don't know about those. And the microfiber sheets, I would imagine they're poly. But they have to be absorbent in order to be able to wash them and so on. So I would say, but anyhow, when you put the sheet on top of the pad, no matter what the size is, and somebody lays on it, then the first thing that's happening is you're close coupling, meaning the earth has an energy field, comes up the wire, and now the pad has earth energy field. And so you're close coupling. So rather than buzzing with the environmental electrical noise, you're now humming with the earth. And for millions of years, that's where we used to be. The earth has rhythms and cycles and information that cues up some of our hormone secretion profiles and so on. And but anyhow, you're close coupled. So as you sleep in that bed, as you pull the covers over your body, then your body's going to perspire and hydrate, not make them wet, but there's going to be moisture. It's like if there's cotton in the room, it'll be the humidity of whatever the humidity of the room is, will be the hydration of the cotton, because it absorbs water. So, But anyhow, when you lay in the bed, a child lays in the bed, he's going to have pajamas on, all that kind of things anyway. So they put the cover over the top of him. So the moisture from the humidity in the room and the hydration from their body perspiring throughout the night is going to allow a path for electrons to migrate through whatever medium is on the bed. And the body's going to absorb these. It's going to pull if the body has inflammation, it's going to pull these electrons to the body. But if you want it to happen fast, then you do it like we all talk. Get grounded, sleep directly on the mat, do whatever. But that's for people whose health is very compromised, and you need to put the fire out and keep it out immediately. But for family and children and people who are relatively healthy, put the thing under your mattress, under your sheet, no matter what it is, and go to bed and go to sleep. You're going to benefit.
Good. Okay, David is asking, when will the new sheets be available?
The new sheets. How would he know about the new sheets?
I think you've talked about them, haven't you? He said the new sheets.
Oh, okay. Well, we have, could have been here a year ago, but COVID and everything's been totally turned upside down. What we have with the earthing carbon mats, well, we started out using mats and sheets with carbon, and the carbon would break up because it was a different kind of carbon than we use today. But this is 20 years ago. Then we went to the silver yarns in the cotton sheets. And the problem was some of them would last 6 weeks, some of them would last 6 months, but they always went bad. So we had to quit selling those because people were paying too much money for them and not getting the results, and they weren't lasting long enough, and people didn't know for sure when they were working and when they weren't. And so we abandoned all of that a few years back, and we developed the new mats that we have today, which are the carbon mats, and they are bulletproof. They will last. You don't need a meter. They work. You need a meter to test your wires and stuff, but that pad is going to keep working. So it's going to have a nice life expectancy. We don't know what it is. We know it's at least 7 to 10 years because we have those kind of products now with our chairs and things that have been used for that period. So many people, this big discussion that goes on forever about the sheets. Well, I can't get my meter to test when I'm on the sheet. Well, it can't really, because it's designed to test the product, not the body. The body, everybody's body is so different in conductivity because of if it's cold, your skin's going to be dry and you have no conductivity until you start covering up and sweating and warming up a little bit. And the different sheets, the amount of pajamas people have on, all these things are relative. So anyhow, what we did about a year and a half ago, we investigated this. We've been working on this for a year and a half, longer. And so what we developed was a new cotton sheet. And rather than have silver yarn in it that oxidizes and loses its conductivity, we have a new way of putting a conductive in it that it's not conductive back and forth like the old sheets were, but it's conductive through the sheet. So you have conductive through the sheet. So it's more like a semiconductor. And so anyhow, they're 100% cotton. They have a 2 to 5% conductive in them. And so when you buy the mat, if you want conductive sheets, then you'll have them. But they will come with a conductive pillowcases, a set of pillowcases, and a top sheet that's conductive material. And so next time you buy a sheet, buy a set of them rather than a conventional sheet or whatever. But and they're going to be similar to the normal price of sheets in a normal department store. But anyhow, so that's the last mile for us. That's as far as we can go, as far as giving you a method of grounding your bed that you can sleep on that is comfortable, because the thin carbon mats you might think that would be less expensive to do it that way. No, it's more expensive. We have conductive in it, we have certain type substrate in it, and we have certain materials in it. And it's quite a feat to achieve, to have something you can put in a bed that somebody can sleep on, period, and have it last for years. So we achieved that. Now to get the last mile to put the conductive sheet on top of that. So that way you don't have wires on your sheets. All you do is put the sheet on top of the black mat and it's automatically conductive. So you can wash the sheets without worrying about wires or any degradation of the silver or any of those things that we've had problems with in the past. That's all gone. So anyhow, and they should last the life of a normal sheet set, but they are 100% cotton. They are somewhere between Pakistan and here, or just getting ready to leave Pakistan where they make the cotton. And anyhow, so yeah, so we're looking, when are we looking, Jennifer?
Well, they're supposed to actually ship sometime this month. So maybe April, May.
Yeah. So next year, this time we'll have a lot of people sleeping. We'll be looking on that discussion, or hopefully there won't be any discussion. Everybody will just be happy and everything works. But anyhow, so that's what the sheets and the carbon mattress pad, we came out with it ahead. We were going to wait, but we couldn't wait because we needed to stop selling the other ones, and we needed to get people something that would work, that they knew was working and that they would be guaranteed to work. And then we would bring the sheets along later. And they needed a full sheet set, needed a matching sheet set. Well, we can produce a matching sheet set for what it used to cost to produce, a single sloppy bottom sheet with the conductive silver. So anyhow, we've really improved it. We really have a great product coming for you. But again, keep in mind the patches and all those things are for acute situations. They are very important. So now that we have that and the beds and the sheets and everything done, one of these days we're going to be able to say we did it.
Okay, Bruce is asking how he can keep grounded in his 18-wheeler truck as he normally hauls loads running around 1,500 miles. He says, I accidentally discovered the concept of grounding during a long haul.
Okay. We have sleep mats, or not sleep mats, the carbon mats that I think you have two of them. Or
the auto seat mat. Yeah,
the auto seat mats on the earthing.com site. That mat was developed 20 years ago by a group of about 30 truckers. And it's just a pad it's very small, but it sits in the bucket of the seat. It's not up and around or over. Some truckers will take the Unimat and put it up the back of the seat and sit on part of it, and that's fine too. In fact, I'd probably recommend that if I were driving that long. But anyhow, you can take any of those products, but you have to use the cords that come with the seat mats because they have a little alligator clip and a little coil cord, and you just connect it to any bare metal in your truck that is connected to the chassis. So the springs underneath your seat, most everything in the vehicle is connected to the chassis, or you just loosen a screw or whatever, or put in a screw going into the chassis. And that way you'll be grounded all the time you're driving. And it's remarkable. It's just absolutely stunning what the truckers tell us about improved night vision, just having more energy at the end of the runs, and just feeling better, just everything. So.
Okay. After grounding for some days, it seems that the whole body started to itch. Is this detoxification?
Yes, it's related to your liver.
Interesting.
Now, there's not too many people in the world know that, but we do know that. But it goes away as time goes on. As you recover, your body's returning to normal.
Patricia, she just purchased the Earthing Elite pet bed as a Christmas gift for my daughter's 3 tiny dogs. I'm hoping this helps the older dog with his aging issues. As a senior, I appreciate the discount. So yes, the pet beds are one of the items that are part of our holiday sale right now on our website.
The reason we developed that group of products, half of all dogs sleep with their owners, so it's not really, a market per se, but the older dogs, what we've learned, I can just say very simply, it's like, and I've said it 1,000 times, the animals who live in the wild, the wolves, the coyotes, all of the critters that live out there, they do not have the inflammation-related health disorders, the autoimmune diseases, and all those things that indoor animals have. On the other hand, all of the humans who live indoors also have those same, the arthritises and those autoimmune-related health disorders. So in nature, the animals are grounded. So we know, and we've grounded lots of animals. We have lots of animals, lots of people, lots of stories in our own animals. But grounding them is just unbelievable. It's just, especially helping to reduce the inflammation, the pain, and getting their, dogs being able to get up and move again and get their life back. So it's really, really important for animals because all too often dogs don't get to spend enough time outdoors, especially in the grass or in the dirt. And if you can get them out as much as possible, when you're walking, do not put shoes on them. I only say that because I was watching some lady walking a dog the other day that had little booties on. What have we done to ourselves? But anyhow, those are very important products. They're also great for they're great for lots of other things, like a beanbag almost. Their kids love them also in the living room when laying down watching TV and stuff.
Okay. I live with fibromyalgia. Does grounding help this condition?
Yeah, I've been grounding ladies with fibromyalgia for over 20 years. It's a long story, but basically, it all has to do with, again, it's a long story. I don't want to go into it too much tonight, but when you have fibromyalgia, which is a precursor to, lupus and MS and a host of other health disorders, if you don't get it under control. But it's generally brought on because you have a lot of stress in your life, and your sympathetic nervous system is always dealing with, anger. Or if you have any kind of, the emotional stresses that go on in life, or just the environmental stresses that go on with your work. It's endless. The list is endless. But everything in your environment, every person in your environment affects your sympathetic nervous system. It's like if you have a child in the morning and they get up and they're screaming or whatever, so your sympathetic nervous system is, goes through the roof, and your body's being pumped full of cortisol. And then there's lots of things. But anyhow, so the main thing that happens when you are sensitive to environmental stress, then it pumps your body full of cortisol, and then your adrenals, your parasympathetic system, which functions based on your adrenals, it's sitting there trying to dampen that cortisol. But the more chronic the cortisol is, the fight or flight or the stress, then eventually your parasympathetic becomes exhausted. Your adrenals become exhausted, and it can no longer dampen the pain or dampen the effects of the cortisol. And the cortisol then is going to, you're going to have an elevated level of cortisol, living in a chronic sympathetic state. And so this is going to eventually cause inflammation. And then it starts out with fatigue, anxiety, irritability, oftentimes depression. But until you ground this out, until you restore your adrenals, then you're going to have pain. And oftentimes this pain will manifest different places and different times. And it has to do with the amount of redox potential in your body, free electrons in your body, dampen this cortisol. But so if you're stressed and you're not grounded, then your body's being flooded with cortisol, and that's what's feeding the fibromyalgia. If you can get grounded and then find those things that are in your environment or in your life that are causing stress or chronic stress, or if you've had great loss, you know, finding ways to come to terms with it, to find yourself and start making changes, then you'll see dramatic results. There's quite a bit of information on the earthinginstitute.net about fibromyalgia. There's quite a few people that report lots of stories over the 20 years. I hope that's helpful.
Okay. Robin says, thanks for all that you're doing. She says she has many of our products, but particularly she loves the socks. For 10 minutes after she puts them on, she gets a beautiful tingling in her feet. Yep. I love that. Most people, it freaks them out, but she thinks it's beautiful. Do you know why this occurs? She says, I'm not complaining, I'm just curious.
Yeah, you have inflammation from wearing shoes all day and in your body. And as you ground yourself, then your body is pulling electrons into the body, and you can sense these electrons. That usually stops after about 15 minutes because your body is then equal with the earth. Once it's equalized, then that tingling stops. But anytime you go a long period about grounding, 8 hours or whatever, and you've been working or doing whatever, you come home, put socks on, a patch on it, you'll be able to feel the tingling. So that's just recharging your battery with earth energy.
All right. Can you comment on any beneficial effects that earthing might have regarding heart rate and rhythm? We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I would go to the Earthing Institute, and we have Dr. Sinatra, who is a cardiologist who has written a lot, and you can ask us anything and he'll help with that. But you can go there and read up on the effects of heart rate variability and things of that nature. And a lot of people ask about arrhythmias and so on. There's dozens of answers and dozens of Q&A in there. And if you have a specific question, you can contact the Institute directly. And Dr. Steven Sinatra is a cardiologist, and we have a couple others that we can interface with and get you answers about anything you want. But what grounding does is it calms the sympathetic nervous system. As soon as you ground, you can see all the charts on the studies, but as soon as you ground, there's kind of a release. It takes the stress off the body, and then the heart rate variability automatically starts to, function better. And then, if you can ground the inflammation up, then it stabilizes the internal electrical stability of all the systems. And then everything calms down and returns to normal. That's simplifying it, but go to the Earthing Institute, put in your questions, see what comes up. If you don't get the answers you want, then contact Gaetan or somebody at the Earthing Institute. They'll follow up with you.
And that's that's earthinginstitute.net. Yes. That is the URL. Okay, so you spoke earlier about using our products with heating blankets or heating pads. Mm-hmm. Is it dangerous to do that or just not advised?
Well, it's not dangerous. You're not going to get electrocuted or anything. But basically what happens, some are much better than others. I know there's been a lot of changes in these kind of devices over the last 20 years because of the National Institute of Health Sciences did a few studies and made recommendations on how they change and get rid of the magnetic fields and the electric fields. But anyhow, if you have a heating pad, then basically it does have a heating element in it, and it does have an electromagnetic field in it. And if you're just using them for 15, 20, 30 minutes, like is advised, for heating pads, I believe. Not an issue, I don't think. Heating pads that heated mattress pads. The rule used to be on those is you use them to heat your bed, then turn them off or unplug them so that there's no current coming into the mattress pad at night, and then get in bed and everything's fine. But to sleep with them on, then you're going to have that element come on and off several times a night, and that can wake you because there's noise in your bed. I mean, electrical noise, and your body, your sympathetic nervous system some people are very sensitive to that. But there's no harm if they're used as designed. If you're going to have an electric heating sleep or an electric mattress pad, I would put it underneath of the grounding mat and then use it as advised. Use it to warm your bed. But again, National Institute of Health Sciences, you can go there and punch in questions about all these things too, and they'll provide information on those, but they won't affect the grounding, no.
Okay. Benjamin's question is, any more feedback on people having more vivid dreams when sleeping grounded, especially with a bare grounded pillow cover?
Well, that's
a sign of good sleep.
Yeah, the number one thing that we have heard over the years is I have vivid dreams, or I've started dreaming again, or I have colored dreams. And if you're dreaming, your sleep is improved. And you're going in and out of your sleep stages. You have like 4 sleep stages that are critical that you're going in and out of each night. And so the better you are sleeping, the less your body's being affected by pain or environmental noise, then in this case, grounding reduces the pain, relaxes the nervous system, calms the mind, and you're going to sleep better. So yeah, dreams are an autonomic thing. They happen. They're based on, I'm not an expert in that, but your brain does take all this information and all these things you do every day and try to sort them out. And sometimes your brain tries to talk to you via stories, but that's all I know about that one. But it's better to dream than not, for sure.
Okay. Can earthing help with the white blood cell count?
Well, I can give you a couple of examples. We know that when people, have radiation or chemo or some of these things, or like people that have, their health is very compromised with cancer or leukemia or whatever. So the thing that we have noticed over the years, people who reported to us that have those issues, that have slept grounded, they have a more normal white blood cell count. Normally with leukemia, your white blood cell count tends to crater, but and it's very challenging to deal with those things. But grounding does help normalize white blood cell count, and the reason it would do that is very simply, you're reducing the inflammation, you're reducing the remaining reactive oxygen species that the immune system is producing. It's dealing with the effects of the chemo, or the die-off from the chemo, or the die-off from whatever treatment is being given. It's a normal thing. You can sleep outdoors, it will do the same thing. But yes, we have seen good results.
Okay, this is an interesting question. You might need more information. So she says, my daughter was successfully grounding on the bed for almost 3 weeks, and we saw a miraculous turnaround with her brain inflammation. Her seizures stopped for a good while. We had her ground 3 times outside barefoot, and within minutes, I could see she got unstable, meaning she was about to have a seizure. Is grounding barefoot more powerful, and why do you think this happened?
I don't know. what else could be in the environment?
That's what I thought, an environmental change, maybe something outside.
Overstimulation or a sensation from the grass, or having bare feet, on the earth, grass, whatever might be a new sensation that's overwhelming the system. I don't really know.
Interesting.
Yeah, but please keep us posted. I mean,
Yeah. Okay. My mother suffers from neuropathy, especially in her feet. How and why might she benefit from earthing?
well, neuropathy is generally caused from two things: stress, being intense, having a charge on your body, and then thick sticky blood. So the blood isn't getting into the capillaries and oxygenating the tissue, and then not feeding not enough oxygen in the tissues and so on. So you're going to end up with neuropathy and neuropathy pain. What grounding does, especially with the patches, I would use the patch. Sometimes when people use the patches with neuropathy, they feel like they're getting needle pricks. But anyhow, that's not harmful. But anyhow, I would use patches, use them for as long as you can at a time. It may be a few minutes to start, but put them on the bottom of the feet. And that's going to help thin the blood, normalize the blood viscosity. So the blood, when you get grounded, the red blood cells, you naturally increase the electrical surface charge on the red blood cells, and that causes them to repel each other, so the blood is no longer thick and sticky, so it can get in and out of the capillaries, oxygenate the tissue, bring out the debris, and promote healing. So there will be a lot of nerve damage, and at that time, if you ground yourself and you start feeling, energy and prickly, that's a good sign, and you just want to stay with that and keep doing that, because that means the circulation's improving. But that's for acute, dealing with just neuropathy. But I would sense that you probably need more grounding. Sleep grounded, spend as much time grounded. You may also have neuropathy in the fingers. That would be global neuropathy. So that would mean grounding is going to help. The patches are going to be the best thing to do, but overall grounding is going to help. But it's going to help calm the sympathetic nervous system, reduce some of the inflammation in your body, reduce the stress, and then maybe the adrenals can start to come back and so on. And then there's other things that are causing this. Usually there's environmental stressors or challenges that have happened in life. But the main thing is get grounded and stay grounded as long as possible, and stop the damage first, reduce the inflammation, and then by staying grounded, then that'll promote the immune system's ability to be able to go in and restore and heal the body. And you can heal from neuropathy.
Hey. Robin just dropped in to say, I already asked the question, but hers was one of the first ones, but I wanted to add that I love your book. It is so fantastic. I learned so much. Thanks for writing and including it in the orders.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Okay. What is the difference between wearing the patch and using the band? Is the entire band conductive, or is it just the metal piece on the band?
Well, when you buy the bands originally, they are conductive because they have silver fibers in the bands. And the more you wear them and sweat or wash and whatever, the silver will go bad, but the metal will last forever. And so that's all there is to that question. I mean, the bands are something, if you prefer that method, then they'll last forever.
Do we have any studies done on psoriasis and earthing?
No, but we have lots of reports.
Okay, and that's on the Earthing Institute?
Yes. Psoriasis is an inflammation-related health disorder. It's related to inflammation. It can be promoted by, various shampoos, conditioners, all of those kind of things. But it does help. We have, especially, it does help. We have lots of reports.
So this is interesting. You spoke about this a little bit ago. Can rheumatoid be healed with extensive grounding? My specialist is wanting to give me more meds to control.
Well,
we hear that so much.
If the meds help, then that's fine. But if you get grounded, what arthritis is an autoimmune disease, meaning that the immune system is fighting, there's a fire in there. The immune system is trying to repair the damage that originally promoted this event. And in the process, there's not enough free electrons to reduce the excess radicals. And so those radicals are stealing electrons from healthy tissue. And then the immune system is coming along trying to repair that, and in the process, creating more collateral damage. So it's an autoimmune, meaning the immune system is automatically in a loop. And it's just chronically promoting a low-grade fire. That's the word inflammation is the body is inflamed. And it's an inflammation-related health disorder is an autoimmune loop. So if you stop the fire, if you can ground yourself sufficient, I would use patches to begin with. For one, that way you know it's working because the pain stops. And then where pain there is, you patch it tighter and tighter until you get the inflammation down. But I have seen people who have their fingers are gnarled up like this a few years, they straighten out. The body is miraculous in its ability and its immune system. It's like if you break a finger, and you put it back together, and when it heals, or an arm, there'll be a big, a ridge that raises almost 1/4 of an inch of bone all the way around. And then as time goes on, there's little cells, something the immune system produces. They go in there and shave that all down and make it all normal again. But yeah, the immune system, if you have arthritis or anything like this, your immune system is totally compromised. You need to reduce the inflammation in your body and do whatever you can to put it out, keep it out, cut the breads and those kind of things out, eat more live food, more healthy. And that'll help a little bit. And grounding will prevent the reactive oxygen species from causing the fire. Then the immune system will slowly go about recovering and healing that area. And then eventually the body only knows to do one thing, to return it to normal. And its finger is normally straight. It's not all bent out of whatever. So yeah, I have seen this with my own eyes, otherwise I wouldn't repeat this. But it depends on how much damage has been done and over what period of time. The sooner you deal with it, the sooner you're going to get the good results.
Hey, does grounding work through brick pavers?
Again, brick pavers generally, they will hold moisture. If you're talking about, yeah, they're generally grounded because they hold moisture, and then the moisture, and they're made of earthen material, so they're generally conductive. Clay tiles, saltile tiles, one of the best, and pavers. If you're laying them in a living room though, or a room, and you use plastic grout, then that will insulate them from the concrete below, and then they won't be conductive. So they have to use regular cement grout when they lay them.
Okay, we have this person just wants to say, thank you for all that you do. You have a beautiful spirit.
Thank you.
Okay. Organic Intelligence says grounding has changed my life and medical needs. I went to a funeral yesterday for a dear childhood friend. I saw so many friends I grew up with. Many said I have a glow and asked what I've been doing, and I told them about grounding. Well, that's nice.
Yeah. The grounded glow. It's a good one.
Okay, what about sleep apnea? Grounding and sleep apnea.
Well, I know this of the people that we have grounded with. I mean, well, first of all, sleep apnea is because snoring and various other issues, but the muscles and I don't remember the names of them frequently, but anyhow, they become atrophied and they lose their strength, and the inflammation sets in the throat area and so on. And so when they're breathing at night, then the muscles don't work properly. But I know that, but that's an inflammation. Sleep apnea is an inflammation-related health disorder. It comes on because of chronic inflammation. The sleep apnea, the people I know who have grounded, they use sleep apnea machines. I've had people come back and say, the sleep apnea machine is in the garage. I never needed it. I didn't know I didn't need it. All I needed was to be grounded because it's inflammation. So, but I'm not telling you not to use one if you have one. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But if you get grounded, then you're going to reduce the inflammation in your body, and then your muscles are going to regain their strength, and then your body will return to normal. There's nothing missing in your body. There's just inflammation that's damaging muscles in your body that control and regulate your sleep during your inhalation, exhalation during sleep.
Okay. Colleen asks if 3 hours a day laying on a grounded bed is enough.
Only she could answer that. If you feel great, your energy is good, your health is good, everything in life is good, that's good. If you still have any pain, maybe a little extra time would be helpful.
Okay, Charlotte says I'm a flexologist and I do assisted stretching on people for 25 to 50 minutes. Yep. What would be the best way for me to be grounded and to ground my client when I'm working on them while they're on the table? Okay,
that's a good one. We work with a lot of body workers, massage workers, estheticians, and so on, where people are sitting or they're lying on a table. And that's easy. You put a mat on the table, put a sheet over it. The client doesn't even know it's there. They don't even need to know it's there. But that way you're protecting yourself as a practitioner from absorbing all that inflammation that's in that person and all the issues. But anyhow, so you can, depending on the type of table you use, if you're using a regular massage table with a cover on top of it, then you just get like a single sleep mat, and it covers an entire bodywork table, and then just put a sheet over it, plug it in, and so that way when the client lays on it, they are grounded. And then when you touch the client, then you're automatically grounded. So a lot of the inflammation and in their body is being drained away. And then you're going to have a much better outcome, because when the inflammation begins to subside, and it happens within minutes, then they relax, and then they have more range of motion. There's a little more flexibility, a lot more flexibility. And it calms the mind they relax, and they reduces the inflammation. Those two things would be very beneficial for what you're describing here. But as far as grounding the patient, it's really challenging for a practitioner to take time and explain grounding to them. If you can just not have to explain it to them and go through an hour-long explanation, then just put a patch right on the sacroiliac. Is a good one for what we're talking about. because it's not in the way of anything. Maybe in the center of the upper portion of the back. Because if you're stretching, then hands and feet, it's kind of challenging to ground them. But putting a patch on them and grounding the body will get you tremendous results. They don't need to know really that it's grounding. You're just going to have a better outcome. They're going to be happier.
Okay. My earthing bed mat gets tangled every time I get up. I'm so tired of straightening it. Am I doing something wrong? Any tips for keeping it in place? Sounds like that should not be happening.
Is it under the sheet? Is it above the sheet? Is it a single or is it a full mattress cover? I don't know. If it's, they're supposed to have straps on them. And if the straps are not tight enough, then you can pull them up and tie them in a knot if you have to, or take safety pins and pin them up tighter. But I think that would help, be the simplest way.
It's actually one of the reasons that we created the mattress cover. Not that they get bunched up often, but they just, cover the whole area and seem to just lay straighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Safety pins or tie them in a knot.
Okay, we have time for one more question here. What type of grounding product do you think would treat sinuses and TMJ? I'm thinking the pillow cover.
Well, for sure, the pillow cover is going to help. But I would suggest, I think they've got those specials on there.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well get them both because I think it's for the price of one, I think. But I would suggest the sleep mat and the pillow. Otherwise, the patch, put the patch, because TMJ is not just, it's not just an issue right here. It's really a tension issue in your whole body. And it's like people that grind their teeth and so on. Why do you grind your teeth? It's because you want to go get somebody or something, there's stress. But anyhow, the sleep mats are going to help you calm your sympathetic nervous system, which will help dramatically. And that's the main thing. And then that'll help reduce pain. Reducing the inflammation, reduce pain, so you're going to feel better. And maybe you'll be happy. Maybe what's causing it will melt away and dissipate. It's like we tell people go outdoors after work and you ground yourself for 30 minutes sitting in the yard, and you can't be happy or unhappy, or you can't be angry. The mad all goes away. Life is better when you're grounded.
Hey, I like that. I think that's a good way to end. Life is just better when you're grounded.
It is. I know.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me tonight and answering all these questions, Clint.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Enjoyed very much, like always.
If you did not get your question answered, I highly recommend that you visit our FAQs at earthing.com, or you can visit the Earthing Institute. They have a lot of answers to the more technical questions, as well as all of the studies and papers that have been published. Make sure that you head over to our site at earthing.com. We do have our holiday sale going on, and we have a great holiday gift guide section to help you find gifts for your friends and family. If you've not done so already, we'd highly recommend that you follow us on social media and also subscribe to our newsletter to make sure that you're in the loop regarding our upcoming webinars, sales, and new product announcements. You can also check out our Earthing YouTube channel and subscribe there. You'll be able to watch the Earthing movie as well as all of the past webinars, this webinar and all the past webinars. And a lot of the questions that we do get are very similar, if not exactly the same. So we highly encourage you to check out our webinars as well if you have further questions. So I just want to wish everyone a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year. And thank you to my customer service team. Thank you to all of you for submitting questions, and have a great night.